What is up, everyone? Welcome into the Full Coverage Football Show. My name is Jeremy Somerville. Tonight, we got a hell of a show for you. We've got Tampa Bay and Chicago. Big Dick Nick versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who we don't know what we're going to get out of them. We'll see. We got Chris from fantasypros.com at Detroit BC on Twitter coming up on the show. We're going to go around football. We're going to talk about COVID-19 and the fact that the Titans need to tighten up their regulations. We'll talk Trey Lance. We'll talk fired football coach season. Bill O'Brien, bye-bye guy. We'll talk more about that. We'll talk Browns-Cowboys. Are the Browns for real? I hope so. Josh Allen versus Russell Wilson. Who's the MVP right now? And then we will go around the NFC East and talk about what a dumpster fire that is. All this, game picks, game of the week, and Ward's wagers. All this and more coming up next on the Full Coverage Football Show. See you in 30. Man, that countdown music is a real banger, or a bop, as the kids say today. Brother Drew, live from the new studio. What is up?
Hey, man, football's coming on for now. I'm excited. Done moving, which was miserable, but I'm excited. The podcast is back, ready to talk football. How are you, my brother?
Brother, we got Tampa Bay against Big Dick Nick. I mean, I can't complain. We got another great quarterback matchup. A Super Bowl quarterback matchup. Who are you liking this game? Let's get right onto it.
Tampa. I do. I mean, listen, the Bears, they've been somewhat impressive. I mean, clearly last week the first half was a struggle. Your boy Mitchie gets pulled from the game. Everybody cries. BD Foles comes in. Again, I don't think this offense is very good, even with Nick Foles. I still think there's issues. However, on Tampa Bay side, they haven't been a well-oiled machine either. Last week, again, similar to the Bears, they were kind of down and they were reeling. And Tom Brady brought them back. But I just think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are more of a complete team, especially offensively. I'm taking Tampa. I think it's going to be a decent game, though, because Chicago's defense will keep them in it. I'll go 27-17 Tampa. What are you thinking, brother?
31-20, and I think that 20, the Bears score, will be late. Garbage time touchdowns, kind of like what they did last week. Listen, the Bears are 3-1, but I don't think they're a real deal. The defense is solid, yeah. But your offense, you're still doing the same things you did last year, not establishing the run. You're now without Tarek Cohen. You're not getting the ball in your playmakers' hands when you should. And your quarterbacks, no matter who you start, it's like the Spider-Man meme, two dudes pointing at each other. They're the same guy right now.
Yep.
And for Tampa, yeah, Tom Brady's thrown 11 touchdowns. Looks like he might finally be getting on stride, but they can't stay healthy, especially with the weapons. Fournette's supposedly going to play tonight, or at least he's going to be active.
Yes. But weird, too.
You haven't gotten anything out of him minus one game. Scotty Miller's been your most consistent wide receiver. You know, the boy out of BG there. I mean, we all had that, Scotty Miller being the best receiver in Tampa. I mean, Mike Evans going to play. He's dealing with the ankle issue. Chris Godwin out with a hamstring issue. O.J. Howard finally catches a touchdown last week, and then God's like, hey, you can't do stuff. We're going to tear your Achilles. And then he's gone for the season. So Cam Brate will get some playing time. Gronk. But Tampa Bay, I think, is clearly the better team. Maybe Chicago surprised me, but for a 3-1 team, I think they're a fake 3-1 team.
I do too. I do as well. I actually think Gronk may get a little bit going tonight, based off what the Bears like to do defensively. But listen, like you nailed it with Chris Godwin. I mean, the guy comes back from a concussion, now he's got hamstring issues. Mike Evans has been nicked up all season so far. And O.J. Howard. Clearly, I just don't know with O.J. Howard. I thought he was going to be really good. Clearly, I'm wrong because he scores a touchdown like every 8th game.
Once a year.
Yeah, but I mean, it's tough. So, but I think with that being said, Leonard Fournette, most thought he wasn't even going to play tonight. So the fact that he came through with an active designation here late, probably about 6 o'clock, was kind of shocking to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much work he's going to get. It's just it's with Bruce Arians, you never know. I just think Tampa's a more complete team, and I also think the Chicago Bears, they don't. Occasionally they can push the ball down the field, but really they just don't have the ability for the big play. They're not being able to run the ball well, which they're going to need to do in order to work off the play action. I just think Tampa is a better team. I think they win. I'm with you. I think the Bears are kind of frauds. The Lions had them. I mean, it doesn't matter about this, but I think the Lions should have beat them for week 1, and the Lions are an absolute dumpster fire shit show. So, what does that say about the Bears? So, I don't know.
I mean, it took the Trubisky ridiculous fourth quarter comeback to beat the Lions. Then it took Nick Foles and a comeback, basically same script as Trubisky had for their third win there. And then last week, they just couldn't do anything against Colts. Yeah, the Colts are a really good defense, and we will talk about them later as they're part of our game of the week versus the Cleveland Browns, which I never thought I'd say the Browns would be part of a game of the week, which is insane enough. And that will be coming up later. But yeah, the Bears, until David Montgomery shows that he can actually be the running back that we all thought he would be, or that, Matt Nagy would be the same play caller that he was in year 1 when Mitch Trubisky looked like, a game managing quarterback who could push the ball downfield when needed and make plays. Until all that sinks back up, I'm not going to have faith in the Bears. Listen, I'm not even that high on Tampa, and Tampa's been decent. I mean, Tom Brady is still a solid player. Like we said, 11 touchdowns. They're 3-1. They're leading the NFC South right now. Game up on both the Saints and Panthers, who are 2-2.
Crazy, by the way. That division I thought was going to be so much better. Mm-hmm. And listen, Tampa's needs time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to be a well-oiled machine. They're going to need time, but if you're Chicago, what the hell is your excuse at this point? And I expect Nick Foles to come out and play like Nick Foles, pretty damn mediocre.
Yep.
And I just don't expect it to be enough to get it done. But with this division, I mean, the Saints don't look right. I mean, yeah, they beat the Lions and scored 1 million points, but if anybody reads into that, then they know it's a mediocre ass win anyway. And the Saints have looked shaky too. I know Michael Thomas has been out, but again, that division, Carolina. I mean, Atlanta being winless and Carolina with McCaffrey out, being in their position is kind of alarming and surprising to me as well.
And we'll talk more about the Panthers and Saints later, but Matt Rule so far has done, I think, an excellent job there in Carolina, and they've made Robbie Anderson look like a real live receiver, not just a guy who can run straight and fast like he was in New York.
I mean, the Jets are. I'm sure we'll talk about them, but the Jets will do that to players. You think Le'Veon Bell is a complete washed up trash player? No. There's ways to get him the ball and get him involved. I mean, not right the second, of course.
Hopefully he comes back this week. But when we come up, we got Chris Robin from Fantasy Pros Talk Fantasy Football coming up at Detroit VC. Give him a follow on Twitter. He'll be coming up. But when we go around football, we got all kinds of stuff to talk about. And we're going to keep teasing that. Just keep you hanging on, just so we know you'll be here later with us. And, yeah, we're talking about the Bears, and, we're making a 3-1 team kind of sound like they're 0-4, but we're just not sold on them, either one of us. And we'll see. Maybe they prove us wrong tonight. Maybe they put on an excellent show at home against Tampa Bay, who all the hype is on. Maybe they prove us wrong.
In front of Aaron Andrews, I like Aaron Andrews. Hi, Aaron Andrews.
What's up, Aaron Andrews? You've now appeared on my TV. And
good things happen.
Good things do happen. We're going to talk Trey Lance coming up. He had a game this weekend, his only game of the season, and then he opts out for the rest of his career and says, okay, now I'm moving forward toward the NFL draft. Trey Lance, a guy who a lot of people are talking about as a top 10 pick. What are your early thoughts on him? We'll talk more about him later, but you think he's a top 10 guy right now?
Yes. Yep. Yes. I sure do. And I think Carson Wentz, and multiple other players have kind of put to bed. If you can sling it and you can play the quarterback position, it really doesn't matter where you go to college. They're going to find you. You're going to get your opportunity. I think he made a business decision. I think it's a pretty damn smart one. I'm not saying he's going to be elite, but you and I have sat here and watched draft after draft after draft where quarterbacks get drafted way too damn high in the top 10 that shouldn't be drafted there. It happens every year. It'll happen again. I'm not saying that he's going to be a phenomenal player, but yes, he's going to be a top 10 pick.
I'm with you.
If you're him, it's a business decision, right?
Yep. And one of those guys we thought got drafted way too early this year was Justin Herbert, and that kid's just putting on a show right now in the NFL and showing that he belongs there. He stood toe-to-toe with Tom Brady last week, making some throws, one fading away, 72-yard dime. I mean, Justin Herbert's one of those guys.
We ripped Justin Herbert on the show. We ripped Justin Herbert on the show. So, yep, we sure are eating crow. We're gonna go down that one together.
Listen, we're 3 games in, but I didn't expect this kid to do this ever in his career, and the moment's not too big for him. He's going out there, and he looks like he's just having fun. We'll talk him. We'll talk Bill O'Brien finally getting fired. Who is a good replacement there for him? Who fits? Who makes sense? Why? And who's next to go in the NFL? There's a lot of coaches who should be on the hot seat right now. We'll talk the Browns-Cowboys game, which was a 49-38, just weird game where the Browns were rolling at one point. The Cowboys started running back on them. We'll talk that. We'll talk Josh Allen versus Russ Wilson. Who's the MVP so far this year and why? We're going to talk about the trash-ass NFC East where the Eagles, who got a victory on Monday night against 49ers to go 1-2-1, they're leading the division at 1-2-1. And that team still doesn't look right. And they're still not doing anything offensively or defensively that looks like the Eagles we all know and love. And God, I can't wait to talk about that because it's like this was a team that I really thought Carson Wentz would bounce back this year.
He's looked terrible.
He's easily terrible. The worst quarterback in the league, possibly. I mean,
It's not even you can't even blame he's just been terrible. He's missed open guys. It's not you can't blame anybody but Carson Wentz at this point.
I mean, we get it that last year he was the first guy to ever throw for 4,000 yards and not have a 500-yard receiver. That's crazy. But it shows that he was able to move the ball even without decent receiving. And we got to stop we give him breaks because of the fact that, the entire team is injured most of the time. You've got no weapons. Your offensive line is now completely hurt. You're starting undrafted guys. You're bringing up guys off the practice squad. But eventually, when you're the second overall pick, and you've shown you can do it already, you got to keep it up and move on. And, I mean, that team is just, I don't even know how to say it. Maybe they're missing Frank Reich, as we talked about last week, and it looks like Frank Reich's done a pretty good job so far in Indianapolis. But here we are. We're just about to get ready to have Chris on to talk fantasy football. How's your fantasy teams doing this year?
Good-ish. I'm 4-0 in 2 of them, 0-4 in the third one. What are you? How are your fantasy teams doing?
See, I got
how many leagues are you in?
I am in 4 leagues.
That's too many leagues. I'm in 3. I think it's 1 too many. I think it's too many. Too many leagues.
But I mean, I got different leagues. I got a league, my league in ESPN. It's a whole PPR league, but it's different kind of roster setup. I got the basic setup in 2 CBS leagues, and then I got a independent defensive player league, which I was one of the worst teams last year because it's a keeper league, and then you play 3 quarterbacks at the same time. So it's always a mess, and guys are just keeping quarterbacks. And I went with what Chris told me at Detroit BC on Twitter when we had him on the show before the season started. He said, independent draft or independent defensive player leagues, draft up your defense, build your defense. That's exactly what I did, and my defense is dominating, and I am 4-0 in that league. So I got a couple 4-0s, a 1-2-1 after I'm the Eagles in my ESPN league right now.
Yeah,
Calvin Ridley got me 0 points. 0 points from Calvin Ridley. All I needed was 1, and it was trash. Couldn't believe that I got nothing out of that league. But while we're waiting on Chris, let's move into Trey Lance. Let's talk a little bit about him. This kid, he has 1 game under his belt this season, and it was not his best showing. I mean, you looked at what the kid did, you could tell that it was the first time he'd seen other competition other than his defense. I mean, he was 15 of 30, 50%, 149 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, and had 8 carries for 82 yards and 2 more touchdowns. The kid has talent. We've seen that. Last year, 66.9% completion percentage, 2,786 yards passing, 28 scores, 0 picks, and also had 1,100 yards rushing and 14 scores. You look at the kid, he's athletic. He's a big kid. I want to say he's 6'3". I don't have it in front of me. Let me see if I can pull up my notes here. Yes,
he's actually 7'9". 7'9".
He's a giant. He is a Brock Osweiler-style giant. 6'3", 224. The kid's fast. He's athletic. He's got arm talent. He can sling the ball across the field. Looks like he's got decent accuracy. The only thing, you can see this deep ball. He just drops it in. That's a beautiful dime right there. He's got talent, but he's got to work on his feet. He's got to get used to the speed of the NFL. And I'm with you on this. You said you thought he was a top 10 pick. I'm with you. He's a top 10 pick based on need. And it always comes down to exactly that. NFL needs quarterbacks. We got a lot of young quarterbacks going right now. Some of who look good. Some of them don't look good, Danny Dimes. But this is a kid who can do a little bit of everything. And he's a bigger – I mean, he's – got Kyler Murray in him in the way he makes plays with his feet and his athleticism. I mean, maybe he's a poor man's Lamar Jackson on that style, on size, but he can do a little bit of everything. And he's definitely, if he goes in the right spot and they want to actually build a solid plan around him, he's a guy who can be very good for a long time to come. On the old baseball field here.
I mean, that's the thing. So, again, he's kind of brings the traits that the NFL somewhat kind of going towards as far as offense and just offensive play callers with the ability to kind of do different things when there's somewhat of a mobility aspect that's brought to the offense. I mean, we see it with Baltimore. I mean, of course, Lamar Jackson is Lamar Jackson. But this kid's, I mean, Kyler Murray is smaller than him. Than Trey Lance. I think the kid brings that aspect where, like we've said, somebody's going to swing on him and they may miss. And lots of times they miss. Ask the Cleveland Browns. They miss every damn time. So
many times.
So exactly. So that's the thing but you're going to continue to swing. And I think you also look at it from a perspective of, yes, he plays in a subpar, kind of maybe conference. But however, how many NFL players is he playing with as compared to these quarterbacks in other conferences? So I think the kid's a fascinating prospect. I think he will be drafted in the top 10. What his future holds will be decided down the road. But you can bet your ass that there's going to be a team that's going to take a shot on him and see where it goes.
The more I watch those highlights and the more I think about it, he's a lot like Josh Allen, who went to Wyoming, actually. He's got all the arm talent. You worried about the feet. You worried about the accuracy. I mean, I was rough on Josh Allen coming in, and that kid has developed and been a hell of a player so far. But I think that's
Josh Allen or Baker Mayfield
right now.
Yep,
it's not even close. It's Josh Allen, and I never thought I'd say that. I mean, I was all against Josh Allen coming to Cleveland. I've been on Baker.
Yep.
And Baker's shown at times he can be really good, but he's also struggled. But when you're comparing Sean McDermott against 8 different head coaches and coordinators, I mean,
I agree.
It's part of it.
Yep, it certainly is.
And now, without further ado, remember that we got merch, baby. Check out our merchandise, bonfire.com/store/FCFS-tees. And on our site right now, we got a Fantasy Beast t-shirt, which, if you purchase it, all of our proceeds from it go to the Soul Shine Wildlife Center. And that shirt is in honor of our next guest, the Wizard of Fantasy Football, at Detroit Beastie. Follow him on Twitter at fantasy or blah blah blah. I got all kinds of stuff. What's up, Chris? How you doing tonight?
Yes, sir. You wizard.
You are the Wizard of Fantasy Football. How you doing tonight, brother?
Good. Thanks for having me. I just want to say real quick, if I may, I was unable to get to one of my favorite sits of the week, and you guys were just talking about Baker Mayfield. I don't want nothing to do with him this weekend, along with ODB. OBJ, excuse me, OBJ.
I was listening to ODB earlier. Got to go with some ODB back in the day every now and then. But yeah, stay away from Browns this week. It's going to be a tough game for them against the Colts, but I still think they get. We'll talk about it more. I'm going to tease that because that's our game of the week this week.
Of course, you think they win. Of course you do.
I don't know.
What's up, Chris? What's up, man?
I got to go back and forth.
You never know. I mean, let's talk about it real quick. I mean, I'll give you some tidbits and feel free to. I won't bury the lead, since that's your game of the week. Let you guys do it. But the Colts defense is legit. It's real. And if you look at some of their stats, they're only allowing, and this is the Colts defense as a whole, they're only allowing like 9.5 fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. That's not good for Baker Mayfield, right? And then you look on the OBJ side. Why do I keep calling him OBJ? Or ODB, yeah. Odell Beckham Jr., he's a sit for me just because last weekend, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeremy, but that a lot of what he did last weekend was very fluky. I mean, we know the guy has it in him. He's a very talented wide receiver, but how many times in a season is he going to run the ball on a 50-yard reverse, go 20 yards in the opposite direction and still find the end zone or catch a flat bullet ball from Jarvis Landry for a touchdown? It's just not how he rolls. And again, this coming weekend, playing Indianapolis, it's going to be tough sledding for them, right? I see a point where it's going to be a ton of Kareem Hunt and one of my favorite DFS plays of the week, Dearness Johnson.
Dearness Johnson, the fisherman who was catching mahi not that long ago. Yeah, the touchdowns he got last week, one touchdown was a normal touchdown. He got the crazy run where the Dallas Cowboys defense just sucks.
They're terrible. They're terrible.
Getting the catch from Jarvis, it was a trick play. It worked, and that play's happened a few times with Jarvis Landry since he's been in Cleveland. But yeah, for the Browns this week, facing that defense, you're probably going to see them try to run the ball down Indianapolis' throat. So Dearness Johnson and Kareem Hunt will be guys you want to look at. And then they're probably going to hit tight ends early, but probably not Hooper. Probably a guy like Harrison Bryant would be a guy I'd look at for that team. But other than Baker Mayfield and OBJ, who are some of your other sits of the week?
Sits of the week?
Absolutely.
Well, I have. Let me go back to the other page of notes. I'm not big on the LA Rams running backs. Just for the simple, I'm not saying Cam Akers looks to be playing this week, Darrell Henderson Jr. and Malcolm Brown. I'm not saying that these kids they're not talented, but with Aker back in the fold, they're all going to be taking away from each other. I could see an instance where looking at my note, Akers gets 7 to 8 carries, Brown gets 8 to 9 carries, and then Henderson gets the most at like 10 or 11 carries. They each get 30 or 40 yards. They're each going to be, averaging like 3.5 yards a carry, and none of them are going to score. So you're going to be ripping your hair out, who to start. I think it's almost the same thing in Baltimore, looking at, Lamar Miller. I don't think he practiced 2 days in a row, or if I remember correctly, he did, but it was very limited and he was like limping around. So now in a case where, okay, so if Lamar's not 100%, let's let the running game, take some pressure off him. Well, who's going to take that role? It's Ingram. Gus Edwards got all the early down snaps last week. Right. He was their starting running back. Gus flipping Edwards, and then J.K. Dobbins. It's funny, over the spring and the summer, we think we have it all figured out. Not a single game was played. No one watched a practice. There was no preseason, but yet everybody thought they all had it figured out. Ingram is their guy, right? But J.K. Dobbins is going to be the heir apparent to Mark Ingram. And sooner or later this season, it's going to happen. So J.K. Dobbins had a phenomenal week too, I think it was. Scored twice, and we're like, oh my God, this is happening a lot quicker than we thought. And then all three of them just go back into obscurity in a way. J.K. Dobbins was barely used in the first half last week. And then against Kansas City, he was an absolute non-factor. So what are you going to do there, right? Because let's say you own Mark Ingram, you drafted him in the late, 6th, 7th round, maybe, so you probably have better options than Mark Ingram. If you have J.K. Dobbins too, it's a mess. It's like playing, the pick a card, any card, or the shell game on the streets. It's just like, I'm walking away. I don't want to play. I don't want to lose my money, so there's bigger and better options out there this week. So I'm sitting all the LA Rams running backs. I'm sitting all the Baltimore Ravens running backs until further notice. It's not just this week,
Perfect, man. What about I'm gonna jump in with a question on this one. Damian Harris, big week last week. What's your confidence level kind of we know how New England rotates their running backs. It's hard to ever get a beat on who to start. Sony Michel out. You loving Damian Harris this week? What do you think?
I absolutely do. I'm sure you guys watched it as I did. He looked explosive.
You did,
right? There's one play that sticks in my mind. First and foremost, where they give him the ball. It looked like I don't want to say a jet sweep, but he went between the tackles. He hit the sideline and he took off. He was like a jet. I mean, there was the safety was even trying to keep up on him, excuse me. And the safety already sits back 20, 30 yards waiting for the play to come to him. And he still blew them all out down the sideline. Now, I would like to think you guys know me well enough by now that I don't wish ill will on anybody, players, people, nobody, so we wish Sony Michel the best, but it's kind of for fantasy purposes. And I know that sounds awful, but you can put him to the side. You don't have to worry about him. So James White, he's, I don't want to say matchup proof, but he's a matchup, how can I put this? He's a proof. He's some kind of proof, right? Because he gets all the passing down work, and that's not going to change. They could, add Derrick Henry, and he's still going to get, he's still going to get his passes. So this just opens up. It opens up very nicely for D Harris here. And if you own him, I'm willing to imagine that most people that have him added him off of waivers, and it was a nice pull for D Harris owners. So I'm excited for him, and yeah, he's a full go for me this weekend.
Now, John Brown has missed a couple practices this week for the Bills. That game is now moved to Tuesday, so maybe that calf injury heals by Tuesday, if they even play and it's not forfeited. If John Brown misses that game, Gabriel Davis a must pick up in all leagues.
Absolutely, right? And let me tell you something I thought of. It came to me while I was live on another show on a Tuesday night, right? A website reached out. I'm not trying to plug anything, but a website reached out and said, bottom of the barrel week 4 was just ungodly good. And who would have saw that coming? Almost every guy in there, scored a touch. It was unbelievably exciting for me and anybody, you guys who helped let me promote it and let me spout off about it. But a website said, hey, you want your own show, like an hour show, 45-minute show, right? And during the show, we were talking about, waiver wire ads. And I noticed that, let's say, the waiver wire ads going into, there's a direct correlation between waiver wire ads and the previous week's bottom of the barrel, right? So, Gabriel Davis, the rookie phenom, he scored back-to-back weeks, and I think when I was in the waiting room while you guys were chatting, I caught the tail end of you guys talking about Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield, and that it's astounding that Josh Allen can support this many he can support 4 wide receivers, and that's crazy. And I did see that John Brown pulled up lame at practice today. He limped off, as you said. I think it was a calf injury, you said. So if John Brown can't go, Gabriel Davis he's an ad in any and all formats. I'm playing him across the board in DFS because if you look at his price, the price has not even changed. He's $4,700 on FanDuel, and he's $3,400 on DraftKings. That is unbelievably crazy value, and the pieces you can put in around him. If you use, let's say, I got wild. I can send you the screenshot of my FanDuel lineup, but I used Gabriel Davis, Isaiah Ford, Miami's wide receiver, and Jeff Smith. Who's heard of this guy? He's the New York Jets wide receiver, and you go down, they're all under $5,000. And if you put all 3 of those wide receivers in your DFS lines, you're able to put in Zeke Elliott, Dalvin Cook, and Derrick Henry. You can start all 3 of those. You can start three of the most expensive running backs you want. You choose.
Right,
the
based
choice
off
is
that
yours.
value.
Yeah. So it's unbelievably crazy what's happening what 5 weeks into the season, week
Mhm.
5 just started like 10 minutes ago. It's crazy that the value and these little nuggets you can pull if you're paying attention a little bit. So that was a really long way to explain your question, to answer your question. Yes,
That's perfect.
Gabriel Davis is an absolute ad. You don't believe me? I put my money where my mouth is. I've added him, and he's in my starting roster spot this week in my 14-team IDP dynasty.
Are
That's
you
a perfect
feeling?
segue. Go ahead.
Oh, so
Go ahead, Drew.
yeah, well, just one more question on mine. Are you feeling more so as a fantasy owner right now? Are you feeling more confident on a week-to-week basis moving forward, starting Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert?
That's a fantastic question. So if you look at both guys, I don't have maybe while I'm talking, I don't know what Herbert's matchup is this week because I have Burrow. Burrow's in bottom of the barrel this week, and in turn, I love him as a start. And on paper, people might freak out. You're going to start a rookie in Baltimore. That's like insane, right? But here's the thing: something's got to give here because if you look at going through my notes, if you look here, Joe Burrow, he averages 9.7 yards per completion, right? Baltimore is only giving up 6.2 yards per completion. So there's a difference there of a little bit, almost 4 yards. There's a difference there. So something has to give this week. And so, let's throw out DFS or for fantasy purposes, right? Let's say you own Joe Burrow, you want to start him. This is the draw of fantasy football, the excitement. I have the rookie. I'm going to start him. I'm going to see what he does. And let's say the kid actually throws for 300 yards and a couple touchdowns. You'll have, in a weird way, not in like an obsessive stalker way, but you'll have a connect. You'll be a Joe Burrow fan. Forever, right. So, if you compare it to Herbert, let me type it in here real quick. I have all these notebooks here. Maybe I am like a serial killer here, but I have Justin Herbert has a pretty nice matchup. I still don't know who he's playing the Saints. That's even better. Monday night. So I assume they're in New Orleans then, right, Jeremy?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
It is scheduled to be in New Orleans, but it might be moved to Indianapolis due to the hurricane coming into.
Oh yeah, good call. So as it stands now, I have the kid for a ton of yardage, like 270 yards. A touchdown, maybe an interception here. But of the two, this week I'm going to go Burrow. Long term, I'm going to have to get back to you. That's the first time I've ever been asked a question. It's like, it's truly, it's an amazing question. And maybe I would give the go ahead just a tad to Joe Burrow, just because of the pieces he has around him. And I don't think that's a lazy answer or just like a fly by night answer, but he's got Mixon who looks to be, getting going. He's matched up with T Higgins, another rookie. They can grow together. Mm-hmm. AJ Green is kind of like fading off into the sunset. He's passed the torch to Tyler Boyd, if you guys can agree with me there. And then
I completely agree.
And then if you look in LA, Herbert has, he has a nice complement, a stable of running backs, and it really hurts his progress with Austin Eckler being down. He was being targeted 11 targets, 11 catches the previous week before he went down. But you still have a guy like Joshua Kelly there to help you out. Hunter Henry is there. Keenan Allen catches anything you throw to him. So Keenan Allen is like the quintessential safety blanket for a rookie quarterback, wouldn't you say, boys?
Absolutely. Yeah. Keenan Allen's been a guy who, no matter who is behind center in San Diego or Los Angeles or wherever they're playing, if they're playing in a big new stadium or a soccer stadium, he's a guy who just goes out there, gets open, puts up numbers. And I mean, you looked at what Herbert did last week. You found a guy like Jalen Guyton on a fadeaway throw for 70 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely unbelievable. But before we got to that, I did want to say thank you to you, because we're talking bottom of the barrel, and you can find bottom of the barrel that is on dfscheatsheet.com.
Correct.
Because last week I used bottom of the barrel on FanDuel, put in $4, ended up winning $40 because I threw in Travis Homer, even though you said, maybe he's not going to do anything. I'm like, I already got him in the lineup.
I was going to die. I was going to die on that Travis Homer.
You were.
He was like $4,800, and I'm like, throw him in. I threw in Latavius Murray. They got me 3 touchdowns combined. Threw in CeeDee Lamb, OBJ. I had Dak Prescott going against the Browns, and had a pretty solid lineup. So thank you for that. Check out dfscheatsheet.com, bottom of the barrel. Follow at Detroit Beastie. Get all that information. Now, we talked about, it worked out great. It worked out perfectly because I was saving money with bottom of the barrel. Now, we've talked about guys to sit, guys you like? Who are some guys you're really, really high on this week?
So I assume I'm going to go deep because this is what I do. It's just bottom of the barrel thing, and I think am I 2 for 2 or 3 for 3 with these off the wall running backs that have actually scored
4 for 4 maybe at this point.
I think that's insane. So I am 4 for 4, and I have I'm struggling with 2 guys, and maybe you can better help me figure this out. I love what Dearness Johnson can do this weekend. He is playing Indianapolis. They're second overall against the run, but for the price standpoint, you can't beat it because we know. It feels odd talking about like I know anything about the Cleveland Browns when you're a beat writer for them, and I could look foolish, but Kareem Hunt is going to get as much work as he can handle. He's the passing down guy, right? I mean, he can take the ball in between the tackles and everything. But look what happened last week. Nick Chubb went down fairly quick within the first 5 or 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
And Dearness Johnson carried the ball. What was it? 12 or 13 times for 95 yards. I mean, he was no slouch. So a full week of practice, getting first team reps, I think he could pay off for us this weekend. The guy I think that is between him or Brian Hill in Atlanta. Brian Hill has been getting some work, but if you look at the matchup this weekend, they're home against Carolina. Now, I'd like to say throughout the records, but they're 0-4. It would just absolutely blow I think that new stadium and that team would just absolutely explode if they go 0-5. So Brian Hill's been getting a ton of work in that backfield as a complementary piece to Todd Gurley. So I think it could be a situation here where, Todd Gurley wears them down, let's say they go on like a 7 or 8 play drive. Gurley, and then they put in Brian Hill inside the red zone because if you notice last week, more importantly, Brian Hill was getting some very high upside carries, if that makes any sense. So high upside carry would be inside the 10, inside the 20, or a screen
just enough
pass.
To piss you off. Just enough to piss you off as a fantasy owner.
Yeah,
when your guy gets taken out. Not
anymore because we know about it. So on FanDuel, look at Brian Hill. Brian Hill is $4,800 on FanDuel. He's $4,000 even on DraftKings. He's a fantastic play. He's going to be my call of the week who scores. I don't want to be, super confident and say he's going to score. I think it's going to be a receiving touchdown, but I'll take it. I'll take it any way I can get. Right.
Yes, sir.
Another running back I think is exciting this week is Anthony McFarland Jr., the rookie in Pittsburgh. Now, he looked phenomenal last week. He was in for a little bit, and I think he's in just one short week. Let's say 2 weeks, one game, and then 2 weeks worth of practice. I think he has spelled Snell for the wide receiver, the running back too. So James Conner he's fantastic. He is doing everything we hope and prayed he would do. He's their lead back. Well, he can't carry it 30 times a game. And not to be rude, but James Conner isn't exactly the pillar of health here. So God forbid something happens to him. Anthony McFarland looked absolutely electric. I'm sorry if I'm repeating, but he looked fantastic. So I'm thinking that Anthony McFarland is going to get some run here this weekend, playing Philadelphia, another team who looks miserable. And I think that starts with what Wentz is, has looked like a nightmare. So, take a shot on Anthony McFarland this weekend. Keep an eye. I know it's Thursday. We got, another, day and a half or 2 days of practice, but just keep an eye on practice reports in Pittsburgh and see how things are going, see how things are shaking out, what the second team reps are like, or even first team, how many's James Conner's getting, and then the split between Benny Snell Jr. and McFarland, because as I said, McFarland looked fantastic and he did a lot more with less than Benny Snell did, if that makes any sort of sense. Yep. Benny Snell got a few targets. Benny Snell got a few targets and he did absolutely nothing with them. So look for Anthony McFarland to get some major run this weekend against Philadelphia.
Yeah, Anthony McFarland was a guy who got overlooked in the draft because his testing numbers weren't great. But he showed last week that when he gets to second level, he's got a second gear. He's got football speed, not the underwear Olympics, straight speed. So Brian Hill, Dearness Johnson, Anthony McFarland, all guys to look at. You've hit every running back so far. One of those guys, or maybe all three of them, are going to go off this week. And now Cam Akers is active this week, so it is good to stay away from the Rams running backs. Dearness Johnson got 13 carries, 95 yards. You said it. Dontrell Hilliard, another guy on the Browns who could see some time, but probably not nearly as much. Depending on how that game goes, it is the best run defense versus the best rush offense. So we'll see how that goes. But check out Brian Hill, Dearness Johnson, Anthony McFarland Jr. Stay away from the Rams and the Ravens, Baker Mayfield and OBJ. Anything else you want to hit on us tonight so that we can set our lineups and be prepared to dominate in all our leagues?
I got a few very cheap wide receivers I can quick hit if you don't mind, real fast.
Hit it.
First guy I want to mention I'm most excited about is Isaiah Ford, one of the Miami Dolphins wide receivers. I know Miami is in San Francisco this weekend. That matchup on paper, a month ago would be scary. You would stay away from it. But as it stands now, they've just been ravaged with injuries, and now they're 11th overall against the pass. But Isaiah Ford has looked. You say football speed. This kid's got video game speed. He just looks light on his feet. He's elusive, and he got 10 targets last weekend. He only caught, I believe, 4 of them, which is an awful catching percentage. But as long as the targets are there, the yardage and stuff will come. Targets, opportunity points. That's how I look at it if I was on a dry erase board, let's say. So Isaiah Ford is $4,600 on FanDuel. He is $3,500 on DraftKings. It's absolutely insane. We mentioned Gabriel Davis, Jeff Smith, another guy in terms of Jeff Smith, one of the Jets wide receivers, he saw a ton of targets last weekend. Make sure that he's only a good play in any and all formats if Brashad Perriman is unable to go. And as it stands now, I don't think Perriman has practiced all week. I don't even remember the last time Perriman practiced. So if Perriman is unable to go, I'm putting Jeff Smith in as many FanDuel GPP tournaments as I can. And another guy, I'm going to say CeeDee Lamb one more time, and that's only because we know what he's doing. He is no doubt the wide receiver 2 in Dallas now. And you say, well, how can you add CeeDee Lamb on bottom of the barrel? Well, I can do what I want, and they still have yet to adjust his price. CeeDee Lamb has been absolutely nuts and on fire, and he's still under $6,000 on FanDuel. Mm-hmm. He's an even $6K on DraftKings. So until the price adjusts, I'm going to add him in there. I know he's a little bit more expensive than bottom of the barrel prices are used to, but I'm going to ride that. I'm going to ride that hot streak until it fades away. And I fully believe he's going to catch another touchdown this weekend, and his price will adjust to, $6,900 or maybe $7,200 or something like that. But get in on it now. Hopefully you read the article, and CeeDee Lamb has been a mainstay in your DFS articles. And that's basically all I have this weekend for you. Cole Beasley is another good play. Tim Patrick was another good waiver wire ad. And he's, as I said, there's a correlation I'm starting to notice here. If they're good in bottom of the barrel, then we check them off and we move them to the waiver wire article.
Damn right.
So there's like a what's the thing? Like a conveyor belt. Let's say conveyor belt.
It just keeps on going.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, man.
Shipping them out.
Listen, man. Again, if you don't, you have to check it out. Bottom of the barrel at Detroit, BC. Hey, Chris, always, man. Appreciate you coming on. Look forward to next week. Jeremy, you got anything else, my man?
No, brother. You killed it all. Thank you very much. And Brashad Perriman is likely out with the ankle injury. So Jeff Smith could be a great pickup and probably will be, along with Joe Flacco playing and throwing to him this week. Joe Flacco, baby. You never know. Chris, thank you very much. You have a great weekend.
Appreciate it, Chris.
We'll talk to you next week.
Before I get out of here, if you give me a couple minutes of your time, I just want to say thank you to both of you for giving me this outlet to talk with you. I look forward to it. As soon as we're done here, I'm already looking forward to the next one. And I can't thank you enough for the shirt. We put the link out there. I've gotten, probably 13, 14 DMs and text messages of people that said they purchased it, right? So that came out of nowhere. That was a surprise to me. And I owe you guys big time. And thanks for having me every week. I really can't say it enough.
Bro, it's our pleasure. It's great to have you on. And we look forward to having you on every week. We'll see you next week.
Absolutely. Have a good weekend, guys.
Yeah,
you too.
You too, man. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
That was at Detroit Beastie on Twitter. Check out DFSCheatSheet.com, FantasyPros.com. Dude, we just let him go. He kills it every week. And, yeah, He hit us with
True
Naheem
that.
Hines. He hit us with what? Jeff Wilson. He hit us with I can't even remember. Oh, Travis Homer, who he even said on Twitter, "Don't pick him up." I'm like, you know what? I'm like, Chris Carson's still gimpy. Chris Carson still had 2 touchdowns, but it's the freaking the Seahawks. They've just been scoring at will, unless you're DK Metcalf getting the ball knocked out of your hand on the 1-yard line. But he's killed it every time. So guys to look for this week: Brian Hill, Dearness Johnson, Anthony McFarland Jr., Isaiah Ford, Gabriel Davis, Jeff Smith. And yeah, if you're doing DraftKings or FanDuel, put CeeDee Lamb in your lineup because he's their slot star right now. It is CeeDee Lamb just getting open because people are paying attention to Gallup, or they're paying attention to the slant routes that Amari Cooper's getting, and Dak's just killing it. And they're playing the Giants this week. It's a good matchup.
This man told me I picked up Jeff Wilson. I started him. He scores 2 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
He scored 1 point last week, but I didn't start him. He gave me the great. That's knowledge right there. Jeff Wilson. I mean, that's what you're getting. That's what you're getting with my man Chris, and it's fantastic to have him on the show weekly, and always look forward to it. And
he did say before he left about the shirt. Once again, check it out: bonfire.com/store/FCFS-tees. All proceeds from the Detroit Beastie T-shirt, all the proceeds, all of them, 100%, go to Soulshine Wildlife Center. It is a charity. It is a wildlife center that is close to Chris. That is where he wanted the money to go to. That's where it goes. We don't make a dime off of it, just so you know. 0. Created the shirt. It automatically goes straight to them. We don't see it. It doesn't come to us, and then we ship it. It goes straight from the site the second you buy it. And then once the campaign's over, it all goes to the wildlife center. Excellent guest every week. He's here 8:10, 8:15 every single week. And I'd like to say we know when he's going to be off, but hey, we just let him roll because he's killing it. Why kick him out? Why be like, yeah, you got to be out 10, 20 minutes? I mean, we had him out earlier last week because we had another guest coming on. But tonight, you get me and Drew, which I feel like it's been a long time since it's been the 2 of us doing the show. And we're going to move on. We talked Trey Lance. Let's talk Bill O'Brien, and we'll give an update. It's 3-0 Tampa with like 3:45 left in the first quarter on the Thursday night game.
And Tampa Bay just picked it off, and it's at the 50-yard line. All right, and we move.
Nick Foles still isn't good.
It wasn't his fault, but yes, let's move on.
All right, so Bill O'Brien this week. Bill O'Brien, who took over play calling again this weekend. He is the GM, or was the GM, was the head coach, was the play caller, was everything possible for that franchise. 52-48. 4 out of the last 5 AFC South titles. He got fired after starting 0-4, and he didn't face an easy schedule, but you play who you're scheduled. He lost to the Vikings, Steelers, Ravens, and Chiefs, and then gets canned. I mean, we make fun of him all the time because he's a terrible GM and he makes really stupid decisions.
Correct.
But 52-48, 4 out of the last 5 division titles, but he did start 0-4 this week. He deserved to get fired at this point?
Well, yes. Because he deserved to get fired the minute he traded Nuke Hopkins for David Johnson.
I think we said that many, many times.
He deserved to be walked off the damn plank and thrown in the damn ocean. Now, with that being said, from what we've heard, reports, things happened. He got into it with J.J. Watt. I just think this got in too deep. I think he had too much say. I think he had too much power. Honestly, it's you bring up the head coach, you bring up the GM, and I think we have to clearly separate the two as far as how we judge what he's done. Right? As the head coach, I actually think he's done a pretty decent job.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's been in the playoffs. He's won a playoff. I mean, but as the GM, I just think he thinks he's smarter than everybody in the room. The problem is they've made strange trades. Where they set up draft capital wise in the future. I just think he's done multiple things that kind of deserve to get him fired. you traded the best or second or third best wide receiver in the entire league for the
corpse of David Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, just for not a top 25 running back. Like, what do we do? Like, what are we doing here? So I don't know. I think it was embarrassing. I think it's kind of unforgivable. And I think eventually the team, when JJ Watt gets in your face and tells you he's sick of your shit, I mean, that's the GM and the coach, right?
Yeah.
So that's where we are. I mean, he deserved to be fired. I mean, even though the playoff success he's had, or not playoff success, the regular season success he's had, it's been a mediocre ass division for quite some time now. Let's not kid about that. Let's not act like this has been a 13, 14 win team, division wise. I think it was overdue. I think he should have been fired in the offseason when he traded Nuke Hopkins. He should have fired him immediately.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, 52-48, 4 out of the last 5 division titles. I mean, you and I, for our teams, we basically kill to have that. But when you look at what's going on there, he got too much power, like you said, and he became Belichick. And all these Belichick disciples, they show that they can be decent, but then they try to be Bill. And there's only one Bill Belichick. One. He's
Can Matt Patricia be decent? Can Matt Patricia be decent?
We'll talk more about Matt Patricia in a little bit. I mean, Matt Patricia, no, he hasn't been very good. We'll talk about him in a little bit here because he's number 1 on my list. Actually, I moved him number 2 before the show. But anyway, we'll get to that point. For Bill O'Brien, the message, that's the thing. You can come in and the message works for a while, but once your message gets stale and you're running it with the iron fist and the players are like, you know what? It's just not reaching anymore. You're not doing – you can be great with X's and O's. All football coaches are probably pretty damn good with X's and O's. But if you're not leading the men and getting them to buy in anymore and the programs become stale or you become I'm better than you and it's my way or the highway because you have so much power, it's time to go. And that's what happened here. And if J.J. Watt gets in my face, man, I'm not backing down from a lot of dudes, but 6'6", 290 J.J. Watt, I'm backing up. And, yeah. Absolutely deserved to be canned at this point. And Romeo Crennel takes over. Romeo Crennel, who was kind of in the back burner of the coaching staff. He wasn't calling the defense anymore. He's just the associate head coach. He takes over. He did well in a couple seasons with the Browns, not overall. He was he led the Browns to their last double-digit win season, 10-6, 2007.
I love Romeo Crennel.
Romeo's a great guy. But unfortunately, he had to come to Cleveland, where we just ruin everything, it seems. But looks like we're doing okay this year. But, I mean, then he goes to KC. He's a defensive coordinator there. And then he takes over, and he does a really good job as the interim, and they hire him. And then didn't do so well after that. So this is a guy who can lead a football team. Hopefully they get him back on track because this is a team with a lot of talent in some spots, but it's also a mess going forward, which is why – even though you got Deshaun Watson, even though you got J.J. Watt, even though he's on the downside of his career, even though you got some solid linebackers, and you got a franchise left tackle that you gave all the power to in the way you traded for him, and that trade will always haunt them. You gave up first-round and second-round pick this season. So you're 0-4, and the Miami Dolphins have your first and second-round pick this year for a guy that you traded for before agreeing to a contract and then had to give him a massive contract extension because of the way you traded for him. You get the contract extension agreed to before you trade. Otherwise, you give the player all the power because they know what you gave up to get him. So with that being said, knowing the draft capital is dead, knowing that you basically have 3 wide receivers who are back to the Spider-Man meme, all pointing at each other, all the same guy, injured, fast, can run straight. Who do you think is the best fit to come in and replace Bill O'Brien next season?
I mean, honestly, my personal opinion, and everybody's going to say, well, this is the common name, but I think Eric Bieniemy. And I honestly believe there's going to be a lot of people that are going to want this job regardless of the draft assets that have been just tossed away like dollar bills at the strip club. I mean, you have Deshaun frickin' Watson.
Mm-hmm.
and you have J.J. Watt, although he's not. I mean, you have Deshaun Watson, a quarterback, okay?
Yeah.
Now, Deshaun Watson's a proven winner. There's going to be coaches that want to go there. That's my guess. I mean, shit, but who knows, man? It's hard to pick right now in the middle of the season, but I think that there's going to be people attracted to that job because of Deshaun Watson.
What about Dabo Swinney? Does he make the jump? Does he join the guy he called the Michael Jordan of football?
The only reason that Dabo Swinney is high on that Christian life, bro. I swear to God. Dude, he's about that life. Here's my thing with Dabo Swinney. Like, if Dabo Swinney went, I mean, that would. So say Dabo Swinney goes to coach the Houston Texans, right?
Yeah.
That's a bad hire. Why would you? I mean, yes, because of the. So you have the background with him and Deshaun Watson, won a national title at Clemson. But however, at the same time, you can't just be hiring rookie coaches. You need to that team is ready to win now based off of that roster. And I think, not saying you can't hire rookie coaches, I just don't think Dabo Swinney is going to make the jump. But if there was ever a time he would make the jump, because I just got all over the place because I'm just thinking in my mind all kinds of things. If there was ever a time he'd make the jump, it's now when he thinks that student athletes are going to start getting paid because he hates that. He hates that.
The guy who makes $9.3 million a year.
He hates for the
I ain't sharing my money with the kids.
That's the thing. So I guess if there was ever a time he's like, I know this is coming, we're going to start paying these kids, he may do that. But I mean, I just don't know, dude. I mean, shit. Dabo Swinney, Deshaun Watson, yeah, it's great in college, but we're talking about big boy football now. Not that that's not big boy football, but we're talking about. I mean, Chip Kelly was great at one point, right?
He was the next offensive genius. He was the Adam Gase before Adam Gase.
Yeah,
I mean,
Adam Gase is really down there.
Dabo 133-31, I believe, 2 national titles, 10-6 in bowl games, making almost $10 million a year. No, I don't see him leaving Clemson. But, you said it right there, is he's not a fan of, players getting paid in college. Maybe he makes that move at this point. I mean, he played at Alabama. He's a wide receiver. He coached at Alabama. He's got the pedigree for it. Maybe he wants to join his favorite quarterback, 10-0 Tampa Bay, by the way, on a Mike Evans touchdown from Tom Brady. And, yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't think it's going to be Dabo, but I thought I'd throw it out there just for fun, and it seemed to blow your mind a little bit there.
Yeah.
And as far as people talk Josh McDaniels, another name. I don't see them going, let's bring in another Patriot guy who wants unlimited power.
Nope.
Josh McDaniels didn't fit. Eric Bieniemy, I think Eric Bieniemy is going to have the pick of the litter. And yet, Deshaun Watson is a guy you can look at and be like, that's a perfect fit.
Correct.
But the trash they have basically going forward, where they're in salary cap hell coming up, you have no draft capital. Is that a team that he wants to go to? Because there's not a lot there. I mean, the cupboard's basically bare.
Team with the quarterback, though, you do. You have to go because as your trash ass organization can vouch for, if you have a quarterback, you go with the team. You go where there's a quarterback.
Yeah,
I'm not going to a team and drafting Justin Fields. I'm not going to that team. I'm going to the team with freaking Deshaun Watson, and we're gonna figure the rest of the shit out. That's where I'm at with it.
If you're Eric Bieniemy, you're probably going to have your choice of jobs, like we said. And I think the Jets will open up. I think most likely your Detroit Lions job will open up. I think Atlanta will open up. And possibly, depending on, I'm just going to stick with those. I won't speculate just yet. So if you had your choice of Houston, Detroit, New York, or Atlanta as Eric Bieniemy, which of those jobs would you choose?
Houston.
Deshaun Watson, or I'm with you on that. I can't argue. I mean, I want to say that it doesn't make sense because of the coverage bear, but I'm with you on that.
No, but exactly. But if you say you want to take Sam Darnold, like, okay, I like Sam Darnold. That's a dumpster ass fire roster.
It is.
The fact that that's been the roster that's assembled, not Adam Gase aside, that's not a roster ready to win any football game. Houston's ready to win some football games. The Detroit Lions, the problem is with them, you take them over, they're all this bullshit ass Patriot mold that this moron's been trying to fit. So I don't want to mess with that either. And Matt Stafford's an older person, like not an older person, but like an older NFL player. I mean, I'm not touching that, dude. Are you kidding me? Houston has to be the answer to that question.
I mean, if you want to win now, I think the win now team would be Atlanta. I think they're still set up to win. I think they're a few pieces obviously away, but 0-4, I don't think that team should be 0-4. If he's a guy who decides he wants to bring in his own quarterback, the Jets make the most sense because they're 0-4. You can probably get Fields, as you mentioned, or Trevor Lawrence possibly. And I just looked up to see Cordero Patterson get a handoff, and that will always be something that I know you love. But for these jobs, which of the guys you think who do you think is the next head coach that gets fired?
Adam Gase.
Adam Gase?
Yep.
Vote of confidence.
Because my trash ass ownership, they don't have the balls to fire Patricia right now. If they would have fired Patricia, they would have fired him right before the bye week, which was this week, because his team's terrible. It's because he sucks. But they didn't. So it's going to be Gase because his team's a dumpster fire. They're going to get blown out by Arizona, in my opinion. And I think they could fire him this week or the next week. I really do.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think it's Adam Gase. I think Dan Quinn would be next. But only way I see Dan Quinn getting fired, they got the Falcons play the Panthers this week. I think they play the Vikings, then the Lions, and then they've got a Thursday night game against the Panthers. If that team is 1-7, 1-7 at that point, I think that week he gets fired because they play the Broncos coming out of the bye. If I'm doing my math correct, no,
Dan Quinn's had ample opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, this was a guy we thought would be fired last year. We were on it like maybe his message got stale, like the whole thing we just talked about with Bill O'Brien. And then Doug Marrone was supposed to get fired. And then both of them come back. But yeah, let's move on from the talk of the head coach. And it is fired head coach season. But Browns and Cowboys put on a ridiculous game. And the Browns won 49-38. The Cowboys are now 1-3. And basically a watermelon kick away from being 0-4. And I posted a question on Twitter on Sunday, if the Browns won, would it be a bigger story that the Browns are 3-1, or is it a bigger story that the Dallas Cowboys are 1-3 after bringing in Mike McCarthy?
It's a bigger story the Browns are 3-1. Are you kidding me?
The
Browns haven't been 3-1 since 1873. I mean,
the Civil War.
Listen, I'm not sure the Browns are good. I'm actually certain that I'm kind of out on them being good at this point. They haven't shown me that much, but the fact they're 3-1 is, it's way more shocking in my opinion.
I mean, this is a Cowboys team, and maybe this is a guy who eventually we start talking about maybe getting canned in Mike McCarthy. And I know that sounds crazy, but 1-3, Jerry hasn't been to a Super Bowl in 25 years. You fired Jason Garrett, who gave you 8-8 constantly, and I think right now they would settle for 8-8. You're going in to face New York Giants, led by Jason Garrett on offense. I mean, McCarthy drops to 1-4, close to being 0-5. This is a guy whose seat – what? Dude, I just looked up to see a wide-open Chicago Bears receiver.
And Nick Foles.
No one near him. And Nick Foles threw the ball out of bounds. I mean, absolutely unbelievable. That was a terrible throw. Yeah, the Cowboys, I mean, I just can't believe the Cowboys. You think of all the talent on that offense, and that defense is just god-awful. And you mentioned the Browns. We'll talk more about them later.
Well, but I also want to mention, and I know we got to get moving because we're going to be here all night if we don't. The Cowboys' offensive line is banged up and not good right now. And what their strength is being able to control the clock and run the ball with Zeke, and it just hasn't happened. It just hasn't happened. And if they can't control the line of scrimmage, It's tough for them. They got to be able to move the ball. In their offense is dinged up. You got guys that retired in the middle of the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. But the defense is just an absolute embarrassment. And the problem is they can't get Zeke and the boys going when they're getting torched for 49 freaking points or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad. Zeke has become basically an afterthought in the offense a lot of times. Last week, hardly saw him. I mean, the Browns were ahead, and then they got to go in this crazy comeback mode. And you see Dak slinging the ball around. Great for Dak, great for him wanting to get paid. But if you're not winning football games, you might not get paid. So let's move on. Quarterbacks. Josh Allen, Russell Wilson. Are these the clear front runners for MVP right now?
Russell Wilson is. Yeah. I mean, I would say the two of them are, but Russell Wilson's the better one. I don't even need. Do I need to even explain why Russell Wilson? I mean, how good has Russell Wilson even been?
16 touchdowns, 2 picks, 75% completion percentage, 4-0. But Josh Allen's 4-0, 1,326 yards, 12 touchdowns, 1 pick. Josh Allen went into a team that was just trash. The Buffalo Bills hadn't been to the playoffs in years. Got them to the playoffs last year. I mean, Josh Allen, I never thought I'd say it.
Okay.
I think he is the MVP of the league right now over Russell Wilson. And I say Russell Wilson's obviously Russell Wilson. He's unbelievable. But you look at the situation. You got a Pete Carroll team that's been to the Super Bowl. You knew what you're going to get out of this team. You knew they've been good. And Russ has always been pretty damn good there. But Josh Allen might mean more to the Buffalo Bills right now than Russell Wilson does to the Seattle Seahawks.
Who is the most valuable player to the team, or who is the better player?
Most valuable player of the league, we'll say.
Russell Wilson. Now, the most valuable player to their team at this point, maybe Josh Allen, because the Seahawks have the ability to run the ball at a higher clip right now with the backs that they have than they do in Buffalo. But again, I mean, I'm taking Russell Wilson. With all due respect to Josh Allen, we know at the end of the year he's not going to be at the top of our MVP voting. My opinion, I think Josh Allen is decent, pretty decent. It's been 4 games. Everybody chill the shit out.
I mean, you look at what he did last year. It was 20 touchdowns, 9 picks. I mean, he was still pretty good. But the completion percentage, that's the biggest thing. I say constantly, you don't teach accuracy. Year 1, 52.8% completion. That's the guy I thought he'd be. 10 touchdowns, 12 picks. Last year, 58%. Now he's at 70.9. Yeah, that's exactly what you hit it on the head. At the end of the year, is this a guy that we're going to still say is MVP caliber? Is he going to keep up that completion percentage? If he does, if he continues on this, he is the most valuable player of the league.
Can we get a face tattoo of Josh Allen?
I'm gonna get right here.
I mean, whatever.
And now we'll move on. We'll get away from that before we go back and forth on it because, either guy you can't go wrong with. Russell Wilson probably does deserve the MVP at this point, but I had to throw out something there for Josh Allen because I've been so wrong on him so far. Okay, NFC East. We talked about the Cowboys. How trash is the NFC East?
Terrible. It's terrible.
The Eagles, we said at the top of the show, 1-2-1, leading division. Washington and Dallas in second at 1-3, and then the Giants 0-4. Last year, this league or division was won basically by a trash ass Eagles team at the last second. Who wins this division, and do they even get to 8 wins?
Dallas. Yes, they do. They get to 9. 9-7 wins the division. Dallas gets 9 wins. I still think they're the best team in the division. I mean, the Eagles, Carson Wentz, dude, did somebody, what the hell is wrong with that Carson Wentz, dude? What's wrong with this guy? I mean, you can again, we talked about you can blame whatever you want. The dude is throwing it straight into the ground like a goddamn Joey Harrington. What are we doing here? I mean, it's he's all of a sudden, he's lost his he lost his mojo. Austin Powers sucked his shit away from him. What's going on here? I don't know what to tell you. He's terrible. It's embarrassing.
I mean, you look at him, and I was thinking, the only thing I can figure out is maybe in his head he's putting all his pressure on himself to be that guy, because this is a guy whose team has won a Super Bowl in his career with the team, but he didn't win that Super Bowl. I mean, he got his team to the playoffs, but Nick Foles won that Super Bowl. Nick Foles is the guy with the statue outside Lincoln Financial Field. I mean, Nick Foles, as awful as he is, and we just saw how damn terrible he is a legend in Philly because of that Super Bowl, because of the Philly special. Is this something you think might be like Carson's got in his head? I got to be good, or else they're going to want Jalen Hurts. They're going to want Nick Foles, or is this?
No, I think it's.
I
don't think it's that. No, I think, trust me, I put Carson in my top 5 to 7 quarterbacks over these last few years. I think it's confidence. I think it's basically a lack of even having a guy, a confident player to go to. Alshon Jeffrey was his guy. Alshon Jeffrey was his ex that he wanted. Like, he felt confident going to on a play. I just don't know if he's confident with anybody right now. And I mean, he looks terrible. He looks shook. His confidence is shattered, and you know how it is. Once your confidence shattered, you can't make a decision with the football.
Yep.
You overread everything. You lock in on one guy, and it's difficult to it becomes it downward spirals. And right now, he just looks deer in the headlights, and he's got to figure it out.
He is absolutely seeing ghosts, and I saw it with Baker Mayfield last year. That's exactly what happened to Baker, and he still sees it. Doesn't step up in the pocket. You said the Cowboys are going to go 9-7, so that would mean they're going to go on an 8-4 run.
Correct.
To finish the season. They've got Washington, Pittsburgh, Minnesota. I mean, I'm looking at their schedule. When you first said it, I'm like, that sounds kind of crazy. Like, the best team, they play the Ravens, the Steelers, the Niners. Outside of that, they got a lot of winnable games, but that defense has to get it together. I mean, the Cowboys are the most talented team in the division. I think they should win it. And this division is just absolute trash. God only knows what's going to happen. Let's get to game picks. Let me find that right graphic there. Last week, I was 12-3. Drew was 11-4. I am now up 42-18 to 38-22.
Bullshit, he's cheating.
We're both. I wish I was cheating, but I was up on you earlier last year, and you came back and just ended up beating me by like 5 or 6 games. I don't even know where I got the actual scores, but anyway, this week let's get to picking games.
Rapid fire.
About this one. We got Carolina.
All right,
let's try it. Carolina traveling to Atlanta. You got Atlanta. I will take Carolina. Coming up next, we got the Cincinnati Bengals 1-2-1 traveling to Baltimore. Who you got? I would like to see the Bengals win. We both picked them last week. They did not get it done. Jacksonville 1-3 traveling to Houston to face the 0-4 Texans.
Jacksonville Minshew.
I am going to take the Texans to get off the schneid and finally get a victory. Probably embarrassing. Las Vegas Raiders 2-2 at the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I don't think Chiefs. So
we apologized 2 weeks ago to the Raiders to saying, hey, maybe they're better than we thought. They are who we thought they were. They're not that good. Yeah. Arizona 2-2. Arizona 2-2. Traveling to face Adam Gase.
Yeah, Adam Gase.
Joe Flacco. No, I'm going with Cardinals, no doubt.
It's embarrassing.
The Battle of Pennsylvania. Eagles at Steelers.
Steelers.
Yeah, I don't think there is a chance for the Eagles. Miles Sanders has not done anything. Carson Wentz still sucks. This game, a Tuesday night game, as of now at 6 p.m., I think.
Yeah.
Buffalo Bills at Tennessee Titans. If this game is played, who you got?
I want to take the Bills.
I also will take the Bills. This could have been the game of the week, but we don't even know if it's going to get played.
Yeah, it's weird.
Los Angeles Rams 3-1 at the Washington football team, led by Kyle Allen as Dwayne Haskins got benched.
Rams
to move 4-1. Miami Dolphins 1-3 at the San Francisco 49ers, possibly led by Jimmy Garoppolo. Niners.
Yep.
I'm going to take the Dolphins. I don't know why. Feeling the Dolphins win.
Okay, that's a terrible pick. What are you over there? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding about
New York Giants at Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys
Dallas.
get 2-3.
Yeah, I mean the Giants are no far. That's an embarrassing organization.
Yeah, I want to say that Jason Garrett can put something together, against his old team, but I don't think it's going to happen.
I mean, Joe Judge comes in, and all of a sudden, like at the end of the last year, Daniel Jones looked like, oh, okay, we fuck with Daniel Jones. Mess with Daniel Jones. Now Daniel Jones looks like he's got like half his leg amputated in the offseason. Dude can't even play.
He's been terrible. He has been bad. Denver Broncos 1-3. This was the Sunday game. It is now moved to Monday night due to COVID issues, which we need to still talk about, but we keep pushing it back. COVID issues with the Patriots, and now Stephon Gilmore comes up positive 2 days after he hugged Pat Mahomes. If this game is played on Monday night, who you got, Denver or New England?
Right.
Yeah, this is a no-doubter based on quarterback play, even though Brett Rippon was pretty solid. Minnesota Vikings, he was solid. I mean, it was against the Jets, though. Man. Minnesota 1-3 at Seattle. Seattle. Yeah, there's no doubt. I was like, see if you're going with an upset special here. The Chargers 1-3 at the New Orleans Saints 2-2.
New Orleans.
I'm going to take the Chargers in an upset. Why not? And now, before we move on to the game of the week, let's talk about the Titans real quick. Talk about COVID and all this shit going down. The Tennessee Titans, they need to get their shit together. Tighten up was the organization's motto. Now they're walking around. They're not wearing masks. They're basically went from, 5 guys to 10 guys to 12 guys to now 24 guys in the organization have come down with COVID-19. Wish the best of their health.
Only team that's happened to.
And now you're forcing the NFL to change games. You got the bye week move last week. This week you were supposed to play on Sunday. Game is moved to Tuesday. Then the Bills are supposed to play Thursday. That game is now Sunday when they play the Chiefs. Get your shit together. I mean,
correct.
NFL sent out the memo. They're going to start taking away draft picks. Your organization is going to be heavily fined. If they come up that they can't play the game on Tuesday, the Bills will go to 5-0 on a 2-0 forfeit. I tweeted out this morning at Somerville CLE on Twitter. I tweeted out this morning that it looks like this is the way we're headed. Tennessee, get your shit together.
It's simple as that. I mean, there's reports of them, practicing off, Tannehill, them breaking protocol and practicing after things have already gone up. Have been brought up, and the NFL will hammer down on them. I feel like it's coming. It might be draft picks. We'll see, but there's a good chance they're going to forfeit a game because it's just that organization that is kind of screwed everybody. Now, listen, I understand there's other people that have had the virus, but they're the ones that are spreading it like, you couldn't believe. So that's the problem that needs to be fixed.
I mean, if you're a Bills player, you won't even want to play that game right now? Do you want to go out there? Do you trust that you're not going to end up with COVID facing this team? You're fine with it?
If I'm a Bills player?
Mm-hmm. Are you fine playing the Titans on Tuesday night?
Yes, because I'm an athlete that's in great shape, and even if I got COVID, I probably wouldn't die. So, yeah, and if you probably ask any of those guys in that locker room, I feel like they'd probably say the same.
Yeah, they would definitely rather play the game than take a 2-0 forfeit.
Exactly.
And that's just the mental makeup of an NFL player, and I'm with you on that. I think absolutely I would want to be out there. So, I mean, I would hate to, bring it home to my kids or something, but I want to be out there playing. But they're also doing tests in the morning, so you're going to know right away, hopefully, by then and be okay. Let's move on to our game of the week, something I never thought I'd see on this show. We've had a Lions game of the week, and now we finally have a Browns game of the week. Browns 3-1 welcome the 3-1 Colts into First Energy Stadium for a 4:25 kickoff. The Browns 3-1, dude. Like, yes, they have beaten the Cowboys, the Bengals, and the Washington football team. Not very good teams. They got stomped week 1 by the Ravens. Ravens are good. We know that. The Browns weren't ready. It was the first week of a new head coach. This is the first measuring stick game for the Cleveland Browns. I didn't think they'd win last week. This week, I don't know what I'm going to see. You got the number one rush defense versus the number one rush offense. The Browns' offensive line pass blocking, second in the league. That offensive line is really damn good right now, led by Wyatt Teller, the right guard, who is a mauler and the highest ranked guard according to PFF. But he's facing DeForest Buckner, who, if you've been on Twitter at all this week, you saw what DeForest Buckner did to a right guard. He treated him like a ragdoll and threw him aside. This is a battle of two very good lines on defense and offense. It is going to be a game that says which team is very good and which team is probably just okay. Who do you think wins this game?
The Browns.
Wow.
It sucks that Chubb's out, but I honestly believe Stefanski has an idea of what this offense needs to be successful. I honestly don't think the Browns are a great football team. Just for the record, I just want to put this out there. I don't think the Colts are either. So just since we're saying this, I think the Browns are a 9-win football team. So I don't want everybody to think that I think they're awesome. I think this is a winnable game for the Browns. You know, there'll be like 3 or 4 fans there. That'll be wonderful for them. I don't know. Is there? Yeah. Oh, yeah. 12,000. Okay. So yeah, there'll be 12,000 fans. Listen, I think again, Stefanski's run first. Kareem Hunt's a different player than Nick Chubb. It sucks to not have Nick Chubb, but I think the Browns will win. I think it's gonna be close. I would say a 3-point game, in my opinion. I'd say that it's a little 27-24 type ball game.
I could see it being something like that. Maybe 24-21 is around where I had it. So I'm with you on a 3-point ball game. Now, that's the thing. You hit it with Stefanski. He's the difference in this game. Yes, the Browns are without Nick Chubb. And yes, the Browns have beaten not very good teams.
No, trash teams. They're frauds. They're frauds until they prove us different.
Yeah. But something that you've seen with this Kevin Stefanski-led team is that Kevin Stefanski just keeps it even. Not too high, not too low. This is our identity. You're going to have to match up to us. This is what we want to do in the game. Now, usually it would be Nick Chubb starting at Kareem Hunt. A fresh Kareem Hunt in the fourth quarter is impossible for guys to bring down. Now, it's going to be a little bit different. But Kareem Hunt, who we all know led the league in rushing a couple years ago, Kareem Hunt was talked about as one of the top backs in the league. To have him as your second running back, it means the Browns are still going to be okay. Now, for the Browns to win this game, yes, you have to establish the run. Because if you don't establish the run, Baker Mayfield's going to struggle. Because, like I said, even though he's been good this year, 72 of 115, 729 yards, 7 touchdowns, 2 picks, he still sees ghosts and he doesn't step up in the pocket. He needs that run game to set him up. And Stefanski's done that so far. Stefanski said, hey, listen, we're going to roll you out. We're going to move. We're going to keep the offensive line happy. We're going to keep the offensive line into the game. They're going to be a part of the game plan. You might get David Njoku back, another possible weapon. Browns can win this game. They can show us that they're real, but it's all on Stefanski, and I got to give the guy credit. Didn't think the Browns would win last week. Expected the Cowboys to put up 45. They only put up 38, so I was way off on that one. But
idiot.
So bad at this. But the Browns' defense isn't good. Yes, they're taking the ball away, but it's still not a defense that's very good. There's a lot of holes there. Phillip Rivers, if he can sit in the pocket, he'll pick the Browns' defense apart. Yep. That's where they need to do exactly what they did last week. Get to him early, because if you can get to him with Myles Garrett, if you can push up front with Sheldon Richardson, if Olivier Vernon can do anything.
Don't count on Olivier Vernon to do anything.
Just anything. Phillip is not a mobile dude. Phillip is a statue at this point. He's 62 years old, got 73 kids at home. He's worn out by the time the game starts. I'm going to play the dadgum game just to get out of here because these kids are so loud. But he's just getting there. Dang nabbit and all the big trash talk for Phillip Rivers is great. And I can't wait to hear it. I hope he's mic'd up this week. But yeah, dude, Browns 4-1 possibly after this game. I'm going to take the Browns 24-21. Browns moved to 4-1, and then they got the Bengals and the Steelers. Browns could possibly 5-1, 5-2, headed into their bye week.
Chill.
And yeah, I mean, I picked them as a 9-win team. I'm still sticking with that. 9 wins is the max for this team, but I mean, I'll take 6-6 the rest of the way if that's what it gets to me. I just like the fact that they're actually winning football games. And now, without further ado, the reason you're all here, the reason you all come to watch the show.
Yeah, we've been struggling.
Ward's Wagers. It is time. And yeah, last week, 1-1-1. 43-18-2 against the spread last week. 5-6-1 this year. I mean, it's been a rough start, but you started out slow last year, and then you just started killing it. Bro, what you got for us this week?
We will start with the Colts against the Browns. We talked about this. The Browns are actually getting 1.5 at home. We're going to take the Browns. We're going to take the points. Game 2, Carolina against Atlanta. Atlanta has been terrible. Mm-hmm. Atlanta is still giving up 1.5. I think Atlanta is too good of a team to lose this game as well. I think they get the dub. We'll take Atlanta. We'll take a -1.5 because that's how we feel. Matty Ryan, he's going to get it going. Calvin Ridley is going to have more than 0 catches. And we move.
Please.
And finally, here we head down to the New York Jets and the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals are giving up 7 points, and I'm still taking the Arizona Cardinals. The New York Jets are a dumpster fire. Adam Gase is an embarrassment. The line actually opened up at 8.5, so some dumbass people bought the Jets on this one, but I'm not one of those people. How about this? 89% of the public is taking the Arizona Cardinals minus that 7. Longest. So, New York Jets fans, how does that make you feel? Probably like a Lions fan.
So you got Browns, Atlanta, and the Cardinals. Which of those games do you feel the most confidence in?
Arizona.
Arizona. So your lock of the week, Arizona. Take out the Jets and Adam Gase. Possibly end the Adam Gase era in New York. Put that shit out of its misery.
It's going to be done. They're terrible.
Anything else you want to hit on before we get out of here tonight, bro?
Nope. I just the Chicago Bears. I've been watching this game while we're doing this, and their offense is a complete embarrassment. Expect to see the Menor, Ohio native Mitchie potentially come back into this game because Nick Foles is not good.
So you're telling me 7 of 11 for 76 yards and an interception isn't very good?
No.
Into the second quarter?
I'm telling you that Nick Foles looks like he works at a 7-Eleven.
I mean, they just look terrible. So bad.
Awful.
Nick Foles just sling that ball, baby. Sling it. But yeah, I'm with you. They look trashy. Anyway, y'all, thank you for checking in tonight.
Yep.
This is the Full Coverage Football Show. We are live here on Facebook, live on Twitter, live on YouTube. You can check out the show anytime on any of those pages. It's always there. Audio version available on Spotify, Apple Pods, Google Pods, iHeartRadio, and Anchor.fm. Thank you at Detroit Beastie. Give him a follow. Give Drew a follow
yes, sir.
At Detroit Dave 7. Give me a follow on Twitter at SomervilleCLE. Check out the show page at FCFS Pod. And without further ado, as always, remember, if you live the life you love the life you live. Night, kids.